Hello and hi everyone. Today we are going to study the new lesson from the mathematics paper 1, that is from the algebra second lesson from the algebra, that is the real numbers. Name of the lesson is real numbers. In the previous standards we studied the natural number, we studied the whole numbers, integers, then rational numbers, irrational numbers. Till this we studied into the previous standards. In standard 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th we studied the natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, then rational numbers, irrational numbers, and now today we have to study the real numbers into the 9th standard. Now in the previous lesson, that is first lesson from the algebra, or that is M1 is set. In that lesson we studied that is set of the natural numbers is represented by n, and we can write it as 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. That is the set of natural numbers. The numbers which are used for countings, those numbers are called as counting numbers, and the counting numbers are called as natural numbers, or you can directly say that the numbers which are used for counting are called as natural numbers. And here we write the set of natural numbers. Since it is represented by capital letter N, we write n is equals to into the curly bracket 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Since there are infinite natural numbers, then we studied the whole numbers, and we know that the set of the whole numbers is represented by the capital letter W. Since the spelling of whole number is started with W, so it is represented by W, and we write it as 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. That is the set of whole numbers. That is the set of whole numbers. Now, what is the definition of whole numbers or description of whole numbers? 0 and all the natural numbers together called as whole numbers. 0 and all the natural numbers, 0 and all the natural numbers together called as whole numbers. And in the previous lesson straight we studied that it is represented by W, and that is W is equal to into the curly bracket 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. After this we studied integers. We studied the integers. The set of integers is represented by the capital letter I. Since the spelling of integers is started with I, it is represented by I, but in the CBSE board it is represented by Z. Since in other language xylene, the word xylene is used for the integers, since there they represent the set of integers by Z. That should we know. And here we in the state board we represent it as capital letter I, and here how we write the set of integers is -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Here we have infinite integers, positive integers and negative integers. Both the integers are infinite, and here this is 0 is the integer which is neither positive nor negative. 0 is an integer which is neither positive nor negative. After 0 we have positive numbers, that is we can discuss it as, or we can describe it as 0 all the natural numbers and opposite numbers of natural numbers together called as integers. How we can describe it? Says all the natural numbers, 0 all the natural numbers and the opposite numbers of natural numbers together called as integers. This part also we studied in the lesson set, that the set of the integers is represented by the capital letter I. This is natural numbers, whole numbers, then we have integers, and after this we have the next type of number, that is rational numbers. And we know that the set of the rational number is represented by the capital letter Q. This is capital letter Q. Q is equal to, into the curly bracket, P upon Q. This is P upon Q, such that P comma Q belongs to I. P comma Q belongs to I, but Q is not equal to, Q is not equal to 0. And this is the set of rational numbers. Is set of rational numbers is represented by the capital letter Q. And how we write it? See, this set we can write in rule method only. We cannot write this set by using the listing method. We cannot represent the set of rational numbers by using the listing method. We can represent it by rule method, or you can say it as set builder form. But we cannot represent the set of rational numbers by using the listing method. So here how we will describe the rational numbers? If P is any integer and Q is any non-zero integer, then P upon Q is called as rational number. That is the definition of rational number. Or you can represent it as, if A is any integer and B is any non-zero integer, then A upon B is called as rational number. Or you can represent it as, if X is any integer and Y is any non-zero integer, means 0 is not there in the denominator in place of Y. If X is any integer and Y is any non-zero integer, then X upon Y is called as rational number. We can use any two variables, one in the numerator and another into the denominator, and the variable in the denominator should not have value 0, since 0 is integer. Here 0 is integer, but it should not be there in the denominator. And if we have 0 here in the denominator, then it is not the rational number. That is very important thing. So it is given that P upon Q, such that P comma Q belongs to I. That is, P is integer, Q is also integer, but Q is not equal to 0. Since 0 is integer, but that should not be in the place of Q. Denominator is never 0. And if the denominator is 0, then that is not the rational number. So we have to take care about that. So this set of the rational number is represented by Q, and then we have the set of irrational numbers, and this is the set which cannot be written using the listing method also and rule method also. The set of the irrational numbers, we cannot represent that set by listing method, either the listing method or the rule method. So just we can remember that irrational numbers. What is the definition of irrational numbers? This is Q is the set of Q dash is the set of irrational numbers. Q dash is the set of irrational numbers. The numbers which are irrational are represented by the Q dash is the set of irrational numbers. And we studied the definition of the irrational numbers into the 8th standard. What is the definition of the irrational numbers? The number whose decimal form is non-terminating and non-recurring, that is called as irrational number. The number whose decimal form is non-terminating and non-recurring, that is called as irrational number. And then last we have R, that is R is the set of real numbers. R is the set of real numbers, and again we are unable to write the set of real numbers by using listing method or the rule method. R is the set of real numbers. And how we will describe the real numbers? All the rational numbers and irrational numbers together called as real numbers. all the rational numbers and the irrational numbers together called as real numbers. And here we can write, see this each and every set, that is set of natural number, set of whole number, set of integers, set of rational numbers and set of irrational numbers are the subset of the real numbers. We are not going to include this q dash there, but q dash is also the subset of the real numbers. But here we can write n is subset of whole number, then whole number is subset of integer, then integer is the subset of rational numbers and rational number is the subset of real numbers. We are not including irrational numbers there. So here the biggest set is R. You can select it as, we can determine it as the universal set of the numbers. R, that is the real number, set of real numbers is the suitably chosen as the universal set here, since all the natural numbers are whole numbers. All the natural numbers are the whole numbers, but all the whole numbers are not natural numbers. N is the subset of W, but W is not the subset of N. Here N is the subset of I and W is also subset of I. Here N is subset of Q, W is the subset of Q and I is also subset of Q, but Q is not the subset of all these three. And here N is the subset of real numbers, W is the subset of real numbers, I is the subset of real numbers and Q is also the subset of real numbers, but this R is not the subset of anyone. You have to remember this relation carefully. That is, the biggest set is R. Before this rational numbers, before this integers, before this whole numbers, and last we have natural numbers. So all these things we studied into the previous standard and also into the previous lesson of this standard 9th, that is the first lesson, set. In that set we also discuss all these types of numbers, and here especially we have to study the real numbers, that is the second lesson from this M1 or algebra. Now we have to study the relationship among the rational numbers. We already studied that part in the previous standard, 7th standard, 8th standard also, and today we have to again discuss the same part here in the 9th standard. Order relation on the rational numbers. If we have given the two rational numbers and we have to determine the order relation between them, then how to determine that order relation between the rational numbers. We already studied this part in 7th standard also and into the 8th standard also, and today again we are discussing that part here in the lesson real numbers. So if A upon B, if A upon B and C upon D are the rational numbers, A upon B and C upon D are the rational numbers, and here B and D are greater than 0 numbers, B is greater than 0 and D is also greater than 0. That is very important condition. If both the denominators of the rational numbers are greater than 0, then only the things which are going to study here are applied to the relations. So here it is very important, if A upon B is a rational number and C upon D is another rational number and here B is greater than 0, D is greater than 0, then how to determine the relationship between the rational numbers. So here the first condition we have to study, that is here we have A upon B and we have C upon D. We have given the two rational numbers A upon B and C upon D. Here B and D, both the denominators are greater than 0. That is very important fact. Now suppose we take the cross product, the product of the numerator of the first rational number and denominator of the second rational number, and we take the product of denominator of the first rational number and numerator of the second rational number, and if both the products are equal, that is very important. See, here we will write the different observations. Here if we have given A upon B and C upon D are the two rational numbers, and we have to determine the order relationship between A upon B and C upon D, two rational numbers, then we have to take the cross product. And while taking the product, it is very important that first we have to take the product of these two numbers, that is A and D, and then we have to take the product of B and C. If we multiplied here, A is multiplied by D and B is multiplied by C, and suppose both the products are equal, we take the cross product of A and D and B and C, and see the first condition, if both the cross products are equal, at that time both the numbers are equal. If A into D is equal to B into C, then we are able to say that A upon B is equal to C upon D. Both the rational numbers are equal to each other since their cross products are equal. That is very important thing. That is the first condition only. We have two more conditions. If both the cross products are equal, then the numbers are also equal. And now suppose second condition we will get, the cross products are the same, A into D and B into C, but here A multiplied by D is greater than B multiplied by C. Suppose the left side's product is greater and the right side's product is smaller. At that time, since here the product of the left side is greater, so the number at the left side is greater and the number at the right side is smaller. That we have to remember. See the relationship between the cross products. The same relation is there between these two numbers. If the cross products are equal, at that time the rational numbers are also equal. And if suppose the left side's cross product is greater and the right side's cross product is smaller, at that time left side's rational number is greater and right side's rational number is smaller. Same relation, whatever the relationship here in these cross products, the same relationship is there between the given rational number. So here you can write A upon B is greater than C upon D. Whatever the relationship is there between the cross products, the same relationship is between the rational numbers. That is very important thing. And now here we have third and last possibility. That is A into D is smaller than B into C, or you can say that B into C is greater and A into D is smaller. Now whatever relation is there between the cross products, same relationship is there between the rational numbers. So here we can first write here A upon B and here we will write C upon D, and whatever relationship between these two products, cross products, the same relationship there between the rational numbers. So this is all about the order relation on the rational numbers, and we have to study the examples also in practice set 1.1. So later again we have to discuss the same part in that example. So here we are not going to take the example since we already studied this part in 7th standard, 8th standard, and again we are going to study that part in the 9th standard also. So after this we have to study the properties on the rational numbers. Here we discuss the order relation on rational numbers, and now we have to discuss the properties on the rational numbers. Properties of the rational numbers. Here we have some properties of the addition and multiplications. We also studied these properties into the 5th, 6th and 7th standard. Now again we have to discuss all these properties here. If A, B and C are the rational numbers, if A, B and C are the rational numbers, then see we have the names of properties here. Commutative property of addition, then commutative property of multiplication, associative property of addition, associative property of multiplication. Then we have identity property of addition, then we have identity property of multiplication, and then we have inverse property of addition and inverse property of multiplication. We have 4 properties of addition and 4 properties of multiplication. Together we have 8 properties in all, but all these properties are having lot of similarities between them. So we will first study the addition commutative property of addition. Commutative property of addition, and it is too easy. It is A plus B is equal to B plus A. That is the commutative property of the addition. So what is the commutative property? The sum of the two numbers in any order is always same. If the numbers are A and B, and we take their addition as A plus B or B plus A, then the addition remains same. Here we can easily represent it as 2 plus 3 is equal to 3 plus 2. You can take any two rational numbers in place of A and B. 5 plus 7 is equal to 7 plus 5. We can easily convert it into the word. If we take the addition of the two numbers in any order, then the addition remains same. That is the commutative property of addition. What is the commutative property of addition? If A and B are any two numbers and we take the sum addition of the two numbers in any order, the addition remains same. That is A plus B is equal to B plus A. It is called as commutative property of addition, and it is same. It is applied to the multiplication also. Here we can write A multiplied by B is equal to B multiplied by A. A multiplied by B is equal to B multiplied by A, and here A or B is not equal to 0. That is very important. Either A or B, that is not equal to 0. Since how we can represent into the words? We can represent it as, if A and B are any two numbers, if A and B are any two numbers and we take the product of those two numbers in any order, either we multiplied them as A into B or B into A, the multiplication remains same. That is the commutative property of multiplication. A into B is equal to B into A. We can take the numbers in place of A and B. We can take 8 multiplied by 3 is equal to 3 multiplied by 8. The multiplication remains same, that is 24. So this is the property of commutative property of multiplication. We studied two properties, commutative property of addition and commutative property of multiplication. Then we have associative property. Now what is the difference between commutative and associative? It is very easy. In commutative we have the comparison of two numbers, and in associative we have to compare the three numbers. Finish. Here we have two numbers and here we have three numbers. No difference is there. Same property is there. Commutative associative property of addition. That is A plus B plus C is equal to, into the bracket, A plus B plus C. Associative property of addition. If we have three numbers, that is A, B and C, first we add B plus C and then we add A to the addition of B plus C. And here we take the addition of A and B first and then we add C to their addition. The addition remains same. Just this property of associative property is related with 3 numbers and commutative property is related with 2 numbers. That is the difference between the properties commutative and associative, and both the properties are related with the orders of their additions. In any order we can take addition, the addition remains same. Suppose we take the addition of A and C first, and then we add B to the addition of A and C, then the addition remains same. Here we take the addition of second and third number, and then we add A to the sum of these two numbers, and here the sum of first and second number is taken, and then the third term is added to their sum till the addition remains same. So this is the associative property of the addition. If we take the addition of the 3 numbers in any order, the addition remains same. That is the associative property of addition for the 3 numbers, and this commutative property is for the 2 numbers. If we have given 2 numbers A and B and we add them in any order, their addition is remains same. So that is called as commutative property of addition. Here we have associative property of addition. The comparison of the 3 numbers, we have A plus B plus C. Here also we have A plus B plus C. While making the addition, the order is changed till the addition remains same. So it is called as associative property of addition. Now same criteria we have to apply for the multiplication of the 3 numbers. Here we can write A into B into C, that is equal to A into B into C. Anyhow, in any order, if we take the product of the 3 numbers A, B and C, the product remains same. So that is the property of associative property of multiplication. Associative property of the multiplication. Here we have the comparison of the product of the 3 numbers. Here the product of the second and third is taken, and then the product with the first number is taken. Here the product of the first and second is taken, and then that is multiplied by the third number, and till the multiplication is remains same. So it is called as associative property of the multiplication. No change is there, just we have in commutative property we have 2 numbers, and in associative property we have 3 numbers. Here in addition, the addition remains same. In any order, the addition remains same, and in any order multiplication remains same. Then we have identity property. We have identity property, and the identity property is A plus 0 is equal to A. If we add 0 to any number, the addition is the same number. If we add 0 to any number, the addition is the same number in which we added 0. Here 0 is added to A, the addition is A only. Same number we will get there. And about multiplication, this is A multiplied by 1 is A. A multiplied by 1 is A. That is the identity property of multiplication. If we multiply any number by 1, if we multiply any number by 1, the multiplication is the same number, that is A. If we multiplied B by 1, then the multiplication is B. If we multiply C by 1, then the multiplication is C. If we multiply any number by 1, the same number we will get into the product, and if we add 0 to any number, same number we are going to get in addition. So this is the third property, that is identity. Identity is not going to change. Identity is not going to change in addition. If we add 0 to A, the identity of this A is same, that is A only. If we multiply this A by 1, this identity is not going to change. That is same as that of the A. A into 1 is A and A plus 0 is A. The identity of that number is not going to change, since this is identity property of addition and this is identity property of multiplication. And now we have last property, that is inverse property of addition, that is A plus minus A is equal to 0. If we add the opposite number to the given number, then the addition is 0. So given number is a and we add the opposite number of a to the given number and the addition is 0. A plus opposite number of a, that is equal to 0. The sum of the number and its opposite number is always 0. Sum of the number and its opposite number is always 0. That is inverse property of addition. You can say this as additive inverse. Additive inverse of a is minus a. Additive inverse, additive, the word is very important, additive inverse, and here multiplicative inverse. So how you can write this? A multiplied by 1 upon a is equal to 1. A multiplied by 1 upon a is equal to 1. This is a multiplied by multiplicative inverse of a, that is equal to 1. If the product of the two numbers is 1, if the product of any two numbers is 1, then those two numbers are multiplicative inverse of each other. Here a is the multiplicative inverse of 1 upon a and 1 upon a is the multiplicative inverse of a. Both the numbers are multiplicative inverse of each other since their product is 1. Here also additive inverse, their addition is 0 since they are additive inverse of each other. If you have asked an example or question in the exam that write the additive inverse of 7, write the additive inverse of 7, it is minus 7. Write the additive inverse of minus 11, it is 11. That is additive inverse means just we have to change the sign. If the given number is positive, we have to make negative. If the given number is negative, we have to make it positive. The number is not going to change, only sign is going to change. And while writing the multiplicative inverse, here we have a, nothing is there in the denominator means we have 1. So we have to interchange numerator and denominator. For example, if you have given 2 upon 7, the multiplicative inverse of 2 upon 7 is 7 upon 2. Multiplicative inverse of 11 upon 9, that is 9 upon 11. It is going to change, numerator and denominator are going to interchange. Numerator and denominators both are going to interchange. After interchanging the numerator and denominator of the given number, we will get the multiplicative inverse. So this is the inverse addition property and this is inverse multiplication property or property of inverse of addition and property of inverse of multiplication. So this is all about the properties of the rational numbers. Here we have to study the decimal form of the rational number. Now here we will take some examples and then we will go to the conclusion that the decimal form of rational number are of which types. We will determine the decimal form of rational numbers by taking some examples here. So first example we will take here, we will take a rational number that is 7 divided by 2 and we will convert it into the decimal form. So it is equal to 7 upon 2 is equals to, that is 3.5. 7 upon 2 is equals to 3.5. We will take one more example. This is 16 divided by 3. Now divide 16 by 3, this is 3 5s are 15. 1 is remaining there, so we will put decimal sign here and we will take 0 beside 1, you will get 10 there. This is 3 3s are 9, 1 is remaining there. Again we have to take 0 beside 1, we will get 10 and again we have 3 3s are 9, again 1 is remaining. So this is 3 3 3 and 3 is going to recur there. The division is 5.333 and so on. So we can write it as 5 point recurring 3. We will write it as 5 point recurring 3. Now we will take one more example. We will write here 17 divided by 5. 17 divided by 5. So divide 17 by 5, this is 5 3s are 15, 2 is remaining there. We will put decimal sign here and we will take 0 beside 2, that is become 20 and 5 4s are 20. So we have 3.4. We will take one more example. This is 64 divided by 11. 64 divided by 11. Now divide 64 by 11. We have 11 5s are 55 and the remaining number is, the remainder is 9. The remainder is 9. Now we will take 0 beside 9, that should become 90. We have 11 8s are 88. 2 is remaining there. Now we have 20. So we have 11 1s are 11. 9 is remaining. Now we have 9 and beside 9 we have to put 0, that is 90. So we have 11 8s are 88. 2 is remaining. Now we have 20. So we will divide it by 1. 11 1s are 11. Now 9 is remaining. Again we will get 90 and this is 8 1 8 1 8 1 and so on. That is 2 digits 81 81 81 and 81 are going to recur, since we can write it as 5 point recurring 81. 5 point recurring 81. Since here 2 digits are recurred, we draw a line on the head of the digits which are recurred, and here the single digit is going to recur, so we put a dot. Here also we can draw a line segment there on the head of 3, or you can see it as bar. We can represent here the horizontal small segment also on the head of the 3, or we can put the dot also, and it is reads as 5 point recurring 81. 5 point recurring 81. Then we will take one more example. We will take here 135 divided by 15. 135, I will take 25 there. 135 divided by 25. This is 25 5s are 125. 10 is remaining there. Decimal sign we put here. We take 0 beside 10. We have 100 and 25 4s are 100. So here we have division 5.4. Here we will take one more example. 31 divided by 6. 31 divided by 6. 6 5s are 30. 1 is remaining there. We put decimal sign here and we put 0 beside 1, that is 10. So 6 1s are 6. 4 is remaining. Now we have 40. So 6 6s are 36. Again 4 is remaining. We have 40. 6 6s are 36. Again 6. Again 6, and this 6 is going to recur. So here we can write this number as 5.1 recurring 6. Only 6 is going to recur. Only 6 is going to recur. This one is not recurred, since we have to draw a line, or we have to put the dot on the head of 6 only. And we can read it as 5.1 recurring 6. 5.1 recurring 6. 1 is not going to recur, so we have to read 1 before, that is 5.1, then recurring 6. Here 5 point recurring 81. Here 5 point recurring 3. Now here we take 6 examples. 1 2 3 4 5 6. And if we observe all the examples carefully, then we will easily divide all these numbers into the two parts. That is, decimal form of rational number is of two types. The decimal form of the rational numbers is of two types. Here in the first column we have 3 examples, and all the 3 rational numbers are not recurring, and here the decimal form of the rational number is of two types. Here we get after decimal sign 1 digit only, and the division gets completed. Here also division gets completed, and here also division gets completed. So we have the decimal form, and here we will first observe this also. We observe this here, each and every time the division gets completed and no recurring is there. Single digit, no digit is going to recur there. Everywhere the division gets completed. We have 1 digit here after decimal sign, we have 1 digit after here decimal sign, and here after decimal sign we have 1 digit, and here we have lot of digits and the digits are gets recurred. Here the 3 is gets recurred, here 81 gets recurred, and here 6 gets recurred. So this type of decimal form of the rational number is known as, this type of decimal form of rational number is known as non-terminating but recurring, and this is terminating. This is terminating type of decimal form. Terminating, all these examples, terminating decimal form. We will divide it into two parts, left side and right side. In the left side, terminating decimal form, terminating decimal, and here non-terminating. The division is not going to terminate. The division is not going to terminate. It is non-terminating, but the recurring is there. The numbers are going to recur. The digits are going to recur. So you can represent it as non-terminating recurring. Non-terminating recurring. And here through the examples we get the two types of decimal form of rational numbers. Here we can write decimal form of rational number is of two type. Therefore decimal form of rational numbers, decimal form of rational numbers is of two type. Decimal form of rational numbers is of two types. Number 1, it is terminating decimal form. Number 1, it is terminating. Number 1, it is terminating, and number 2, it is non-terminating recurring. That is very important. Non-terminating but recurring. So here you can write non-terminating recurring type. Non-terminating recurring type of non-terminating recurring. Recurring is the very important word. So here we have two types of decimal form of rational numbers. First one is terminating and second one is non-terminating recurring decimal form. And now here we have a small clue to identify whether the given number is terminating or it is non-terminating recurring. It is very easy to identify. How we can identify? See, if the denominator of the rational number, if the denominator of the rational number is 2, or if the denominator of the rational number is 5, or if the denominator of the rational number is the prime factors of 2 and 5, the prime factors of 2 and 5 are only 2 and only 5, then that number is definitely terminating decimal form of rational number. Once again I am going to repeat. If the denominator of the decimal form, if the denominator of the rational number is 2, or the denominator of the rational number is 5, or the denominator of the rational number is in the form of 2 or 5, is in the form of 2 or 5, then definitely that number is decimal form, terminating decimal form. Then definitely that number is in the terminating decimal form. When? If 2 is there, or if 5 is there, or if the denominator is in the form of the prime factors 2 and 5 only. See here 25, that is 5 into 5, since it is terminating. Suppose we have 10 here. Suppose we have 10 here, that is 2 into 5, 10 is 2 into 5. So if the prime factors are in the form of 2 and 5 only, then definitely that number is terminating decimal form. If the denominator of the number is 2 or 5, or that is the prime factors of 2 and 5, then definitely that rational number is of terminating decimal form. And if, see here denominator 3, no 2, no 5, no prime factorization of 2 and 5, so that is non-terminating recurring. Here also non-terminating recurring. Here also the prime factors of 6 are 2 and 3. 2 are there, but with 2, 3 is there. 5 is not there. We need only 2 and 5 there in the prime factorization. If other number we get there, then definitely it is non-terminating recurring. But sometimes here suppose we have 6 and in the numerator 30. In the numerator we have 30. Now you will observe the denominator. That denominator's prime factors are 2 into 3 means it is non-terminating recurring. But see, if we write here 30 divided by 6, it is equal to 5. So we have to remember these things also. Here, what is there in the numerator, that is also important. From the denominator we can identify whether it is terminating or non-terminating. But sometimes we have to take the division also. Here 2 into 3, the prime factorization of 6 is 2 into 3. So we cannot tell that this number is non-terminating, non-recurring. Since it is totally divided, 30 is divided by, exactly divided by 6, no remainder is there, 6 5s are 30. See, this is terminating decimal form. This is terminating decimal form of the rational numbers. So we have to take care about it. We have a clue, but that clue is not going to use each and every time. Sometimes it will be going to wrong. For example, we take 30 upon 6. 6 5s are 30. This is totally divided, exactly divided. 30 is exactly divided by 6. No remainder is there. So definitely it is terminating decimal form. And this is non-terminating recurring form. So here we have two types of decimal form of rational numbers. The first one is terminating decimal form and second one is non-terminating recurring decimal form. So this is all about the decimal form of the rational numbers. Now after this we have to study the practice set 2.1. Actually before 2.1 we have one more concept there, but we will study that concept. The name of the concept is how to convert the given decimal form into the P upon Q form. How to convert the given decimal form into the P upon Q form. We will study that part while solving the examples from the practice set 2.1. So here we are not going to discuss that concept. We have one more concept, but we will discuss that concept through the examples in the practice set 2.1. So we will take the practice set 2.1 into the next video lecture. Thank you.